So this is at-home learning through HyperDocs. First, we have our norms. So please mute your mic if you're not speaking. I'm going to ask you to participate and try new things. And please, if you have any questions, go ahead and ask them. You can unmute yourself and ask them. So our first slide is what? So what is a HyperDoc? I'm going to let you guys go ahead and read through those, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about what a HyperDoc is. So they're a new way to revolutionize technology. We're not just substituting with technology anymore, but we're trying to redefine how we utilize technology in the classroom. HyperDocs give students a choice when it comes to how they learn. They provide standard driven lessons and units. They can also allow for teachers to give feedback in real time on student assignments before they turn them in. So there's a really fascinating article by Alice Keeper, and she was saying that a lot of the times our feedback is invisible because we don't give feedback until after they've already done something. So HyperDocs allow us to give real-time feedback, and hopefully the students see that before they actually turn something in. Let's go to the next one. Our why. So this is why we should be using HyperDocs. I'll let you guys read what's on the slide. But right now, with everything that's going on in education, you might think like, why should we take the time to learn something new? But this is a really simple way to produce high quality lessons and units. They're created with Google Docs. They could also be used with Google Slides. During professional development, during this one specifically, I'll show you how to use both Google Docs and Google Slides to use it. They can be used across all grade levels. They're really easy to revise or go in and make changes. You can remix them, and they support all types of learners. I'll go ahead and pause. Does anyone have any questions? And I can't see you, so you have to unmute yourself if you have questions.
Yes. What does remix them mean?
So remix is basically just a way of saying going in and making it your own. So there's a lot of websites where teachers can post their own HyperDocs for other teachers to use. The goal of that one is you give one and you take one. So if you post one, then you can take one from someone else and you would remix it. You would go through, and if you didn't like the video that they put in, you could put in your own video, or you could change the tasks. Basically, you just make it your own. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, and would it be possible to get that website like at the end?
Yeah, I can email it to you guys.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
Any other questions? I'm going to assume no. Okay, I'm going to move on. So let's go ahead and break down what a HyperDoc is. So part one, as you can see here, the first thing you'll notice is the learning objective. So this is where you would put your learning target. You could even put your success criteria if you wanted to, but I always make sure to highlight it so that the students see it. You can think of this as kind of like the I do section. So this would be you modeling something. So for this one specifically, I put in a video for them to watch. And then all they're doing for their task is writing 3 things that they thought were interesting about the video. This is not meant to be like a difficult task. It's just something to simply get them started. Does anyone have any questions about this first part? This is so hard without seeing you guys. Okay, I'm going to say no. All right, let's move to the next part. So part 2, which is right below part 1. For part 2, this is the explain part of the lesson. It can be thought of as the you do together. So in the GRR model, students are going to work with a partner in order to complete their task. In order to promote collaboration and discussion in the classroom, I usually have them talk about their answers with their elbow partner. But because we are currently at home, it'll be slightly harder to do. So if they have like an older sibling or someone at home, like a parent who would be willing to discuss the answers, then they can do it that way. Does anyone have any questions about this part? This doesn't have to be 3 questions either. It can be as many or as few as you like. Okay. Part 3. So part 3 is named Elaborate. In a GRR model, this would be the I do alone section. So they've done something, they've watched you do something, they've done something with a partner. Now this is their time to do it alone, their independent work. I usually create a task or assign one from the curriculum where students use their newly acquired skill to solve it. So this has to be a problem solving task. They can pick if they want to insert a picture or write something about it. Regardless of which way they decide to answer, I know that they're still participating and they're still answering the question. So a lot of my kids, and I know a lot of our kids across at Dooley, are ELLs. And so it was a lot easier for them to insert a picture rather than to try to type the words. But we still know that they're being engaged in the lesson, even if they're not writing us a sentence. Does anyone have questions about this part for part 3, elaborating?
For your elaborate section, is it 2 different sets of questions?
It can be, but for the most part, I usually just have it in one big chunk. But you could.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? And for this one, if they do insert an image, you probably will have to go over with your kids how to do that, how to insert an image into a Google Doc or a Google slide, whichever you choose to do. Okay, part 4, this is the last part. So part 4 is evaluate. So my students got super creative with this part of the lesson last year. They began by replacing my Bitmoji. So over here on the side, can you guys see my mouse on the screen? No? Okay. Well,
No.
over on the right side of the screen, there's my Bitmoji. So the first thing they usually did was replace that picture with something that they liked. So either, like last year was Fortnite, so they would replace it with their favorite Fortnite character. Or some people just left it as is, and that was fine. They had to make a poster, like a virtual poster, and put 3 different things that they learned from that lesson. So they would type it in the speech bubbles, and I made a Padlet, which is an online resource. It's free. And they can go and put their virtual poster on the Padlet wall. And so as they upload them, you'll start to see all of the different students' posters, and they can go in and they can comment on each other's. They can go in and look at each other's. It's a really cool interactive way to do it. And this would still work from at home. They would just have to be diligent about checking in on the Padlet. Once they've done theirs, then the main thing, and I had to constantly remind my kids to do this, they had to take one thing that they learned from a classmate's poster and come back to the HyperDoc and put it in the very last section. So this is telling me that not only did they see their classmates, but they also learned something from it. You guys have any questions about that one? Nope. Okay. So let's go ahead and try to make one. On your screen, if you click the word template, it should take you to a HyperDocs template. You can feel free to delete anything, add anything. If during this time you want to share your screen with me and I can help you with any questions, you can do that. But I'm going to give us about 10 minutes to try to start creating one of our own. All right, you guys, so now that you've had some time to work on it, would anyone be willing to show anything that they've created? I know you guys didn't have a lot of time, but is there anyone that would be willing to?
Yeah, I can share.
Okay, awesome. So if you want to go ahead and just share your screen.
Okay, let me go. Okay, can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay, so all I did was make a copy of the template that you gave us. And since the math standard that my kids are working on right now is symmetry, all I had to do was change the title to symmetry. I changed the objective to go along with what we're actually learning about, so symmetry.
Mhm.
And then it was really simple because I pretty much kept all of your words the same. I was able to just delete your video and add one that I found really quickly on YouTube. So that was really simple. So now they've got the video and they can tell 3 things they learned about it.